What about the indie game Undertale by Toby Fox is so great? What made it stand out from the crowd of games released on Steam? These are some of the questions I seek to answer in this episode of Behind the Bug. Today we will take a look at the game Undertale and try to answer the question, why do people love Undertale? To do so, we will dive deep into the mechanics of the game and try to uncover exactly what made it stand out. This is our first ever episode, so let us dive right into it and see how it goes. Also, spoiler alert for Undertale. A Kickstart. On June 24th of 2013, during the peak of indie games, Toby Fox decided to release a Kickstarter campaign for a game titled Undertale. The campaign had several stretch goals, but a minimum goal of $5,000. The campaign gained moderate attention. His goal was to make a game that, to quote him, utilizes the medium as a storytelling device, instead of having the story and gameplay abstractions be completely separate. He wanted to make a game that would use games as a medium of storytelling more effectively than other story-driven games had. He believed most games left the story fairly separate from the actual game. It was as if you were reading a book and shooting enemies in the same game. The game already had a demo out at this point, and the Kickstarter was to help pay for the production phase of development. Kickstarters often have the additional effect of getting a dedicated audience that will play the game regardless of how good it is. These donors will often help you get the word out about the game. At close to 2,500 donors, Toby Fox exceeded his highest goal and reached $51,124. But a game needs more than just a kickstart to be good. It needs to get running to reach the point of greatness it achieved. Development. Toby Fox was not an experienced developer coming into Undertale. He had worked on some projects with his brothers when they were younger, but never finished any of them. In addition, they'd use RPG Maker, which famously requires little knowledge to use. Undertale was designed in Game Maker. While also easy to use, it is leaps and bounds more complicated than RPG Maker. He got most of the art from Temmie Chan. By limiting himself to a few major contributors, he avoided having to rely too much on others. The main mechanic of the game was the bullet hell dodging combat. Toby Fox got the idea from playing the Mario and Luigi RPG games. In these games, during combat, an enemy will fling itself at you and you have to jump to dodge it and deal some damage to the enemy. He took this to the extreme and made dodging the main mechanic. When dodging, you control a small heart that you maneuver around and avoid projectiles. This feature was inspired by the bullet hell games that were popular during the arcade era, and have since found some success in the indie genre. But the main part of the development was spent designing the story. Many random events were added to give character to each playthrough. Many different endings were added based on the player's actions throughout the game. These endings added a lot of replay value as the players replay the game to experience all the endings. The story has many branching paths but follows a fairly linear path from boss to boss. This semi-linear style created the illusion of the player's effect in the story, while allowing a much easier development than an open-world game might require. This illusion saved time and made the game way more interesting than it otherwise would have been. It created a well-rounded experience where the player's impact could be felt in the story despite its technical absence. Now that we have a little background, let us break down each part of the game to find out what made it so great. Characters and art. Any game's art is what will catch the player's attention. Undertale is no exception. It has a super simplistic black and white art style. This made designing the game's art simpler. The game's success can be partially traced to its art. Toby Fox liked the simpler art style because he felt the characters shine through more without the distractions of flashy art. Regardless of the art's contribution to the characters, they were instrumental in Undertale's success. The characters have a lot of depth and seem more human despite being monsters. They have clear feelings and interesting characteristics that define each character. The interactions with the characters seem like a genuine conversation with someone with similar characteristics. For example, Papyrus, one of the characters, is relatable because he represents the internal conflict between working hard, accomplishing goals, and being friendly. He appears charismatic, confident, and hardworking. Many other quote-unquote relatable characters take a simple idea that can be relatable and build a character with growth and change around that idea. Papyrus takes all of that. He starts by wanting nothing more than to capture a human and join the royal guard, to be popular like Undyne. He then meets a human and has his opportunity, but fails. He fails because he becomes friends with the human. The internal conflict is resolved, and he chose friendship. This growth can be seen through his dialogue interactions and finally represented in your battle with him. This leads to our next topic, combat. Combat. Undertale's combat is what players stay for. From the initial fight with Flowey to Toriel and through the end, the battles are each unique, both in gameplay and dialogue. Each battle introduces a new idea of how combat should go. From the very beginning we can see this, starting with Flowey. You get to see how the game will incorporate a bullet hell style. It also presents that it might not all be easy going. This lays the groundwork for the first real fight. After a short tutorial section, you face Toriel. She has been nothing but kind to you, But to continue, you are told you must kill her. This is of course false. You can spare her. You see her struggle with the thought throughout the whole fight. She tries to decide what is best for you. Likely you will drop to low health, that is your first time playing, where it seems you might die. But the game manipulates the combat to match the story. You see this now. Her bullets will never hit you. They cannot kill you. This shows how the story will impact combat. You speak with Toriel and either kill her or go pacifist and spare her. Either way, you come out with a unique experience, but the game will continue the same way regardless. This starts the semi-linear path the game will follow. From here, each battle presents a unique interaction and experience. A new idea will be presented, you will learn the idea, then be tested on it in a battle. This is similar to how Mario will go about an idea in a game. Mario presents an idea, such as moving platforms in a level, then ramps it up, presents the idea in a final challenge, then tosses it out. When facing the spider character later in the game, for example, you'll be presented with a new mechanic. You'll be limited to several rails that you have to jump between. The idea is presented, then you are tested on your skill when the level moves down and the spider pet appears from the bottom. You must jump up the lines while dodging projectiles. It all wraps up into more dialogue and character growth at the end. But what makes the story and plot so good? Story. Undertale is often praised for its story. It contains many twists and turns to it that feel unexpected at times. You'll be surprised when you find out the real reason they want you captured. I was somewhat shocked when I found out about Flowey's true nature. The plot is, as already stated, semi-linear. It is quite good at keeping the illusion of the player's effect on the game. The entire game is built around the story. Every combat situation, every art piece, every bit of the game changes with the story. Every character reacts differently to the events of the game. The whole game keeps a very smooth flow to it as the story plays out in front of you. Without spoiling too much about the game, I'd like to break down the story a bit. Undertale's endings all feel like a natural conclusion to the events of the game, while still keeping some character to them. It all revolves around what the player does to determine the ending. That is where the game appears very non-linear in nature. From very early on, you know who you're trying to meet in the game. You slowly learn about the King Asdor as the story unfolds. It all unfolds so beautifully as the game goes on. Every mystery is solved and slowly unwrapped in spectacular fashion. Each event follows the last and unfolds slowly, revealing more and more about the characters. Really, I cannot say much about the story that has not already been said. It is truly fantastic because of so many factors that make it unique. That is what made it so great. It was new and unique, truly unheard of at the time. In conclusion, you can see that Undertale is a product of many factors, all built around the game's story. You encounter unique and relatable characters that show growth through combat encounters. This all rolls up into a well-polished experience. Undertale plays very smoothly from start to finish. This follows along with a well-written and interesting story with plenty of branching paths that creates a unique experience. As well as being well-timed, this game was well-built all the way through. So what makes Undertale so great? Besides getting lucky, Toby Fox designed unique characters, mechanics, and story that all played together into a unique experience like no other at the time. It has since spawned many similar indie games with a unique mechanic and story built around it. Toby Fox is an innovator of the indie genre. Undertale, upon release, was like no other. Its style brought about new design ideas that will be followed for years to come. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this type of content, subscribe to our channel. Like this video so that others can see videos like these. We want everyone to know what is happening behind the scenes of their favorite games. Have a great day.